Well, I guess we need to add some more duck quacks to make this a traditional podcast.
It's a crow. You don't like my crow calls?
That's a crow.
It's a crow. All right, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to come up with my own special sensor just for you. Okay. Would you like that?
Yeah.
You want to try it out?
Yeah, let's try it.
Go ahead.
It's the laugh. I'm laughing at your guys' face on that thing.
I'm Duane Urban, and welcome to the Urban Defense Podcast, featuring discussion on firearms, concealed carry, self-defense, the law, and much more. Designed to inform, educate, and increase your survival in a critical incident.
Welcome to the Urban Defense Podcast. I'm Duane Urban, and along with me is co-host, attorney Andrew Saller, managing partner at Saller, Lord, Ernstberger, and Inslee.
Good evening, everybody.
Thanks for being here, Andrew.
Wouldn't rather be anywhere else.
I really like the shirt. I'm surprised you didn't wear a tuxedo this time.
It's beautiful, thank you. A retro rifle. I know you're all jealous. It is not a rented suit.
Are those Ingram M10s on there? It looks like Ingram's on that shirt.
They are indeed.
Gordon Ingram from the Military Armament Corporation.
Yes, and this is designed to be a Scarface limited edition.
Very, very fancy. So, our returning guests, Vinny Noto and Gevenny Gamboa from On-Site Protection. Thanks for being back, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us. Always a pleasure kicking it with you boys on a Friday night and girls.
Absolutely. So tonight we're going to be talking about everyday carry stuff, holsters, where do you wear the holster, what kind of holster should you wear, extra magazines, flashlights, all kind of equipment that you might want to have or need when you're carrying the firearm. And you should always be carrying the firearm where? On you.
On you.
On you. So,
unless prohibited by law.
Well, of course, yes. Or unless you don't care.
The lawyer here,
yes.
Ruining, unless prohibited by law, don't carry it. And if you do, and you're caught, call me.
Yes. Urban Defense does not approve of anyone carrying a gun unlawfully. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it. Where should we start? And I know this is not going to be a discussion about guns. We're not going to be talking about what's the right gun, what's the wrong gun, right caliber, wrong caliber. That's going to be a discussion for a different day.
Because there is no discussion, according to Duane. 1911s every day, all day.
In a fanny pack. I was told that the 1911 won 2 world wars.
We got 7 rounds of Fury.
7 rounds of Fury and a giant hunk of metal to beat him with when it jams.
Exactly.
So I'm sure that will infuriate all the 1911 45 guys out there.
They're all.
They sit through my class sometimes, and I talk about the caliber debate, and they're either seething, some of them. So it's
that's not enough stopping
There's
power.
almost an erotic type of love for the 1911. It's interesting.
All my 1911 fans, comment. We will comment back.
Yes, including the negative comments. Andrew, you can comment back to those.
All I do every day is speculate about everything. I have no real-world applications for any of this. I have no practical experience dealing with these things in the courtroom. All we're going to do is speculate.
Well, I mean, you know what we should do? In probably a month or two, we could do a whole episode on negative comments.
Yeah,
that would be amazing. We'll call the episode the 1911 episode.
Yeah,
shit post. Of course. What else would we call it?
You've had one.
But he took it very, very seriously.
I didn't sleep that night.
Well, what are you going to do when this blows up?
Yeah.
My goodness.
And we have 20 negative
you won't be
comments.
sleeping at all. You're just going to be up there punching the dislike thumbs down button all night and trying to defend yourself.
Well, there will be signs.
Just remember, if you don't like any of our videos, hit the dislike button twice.
Yeah.
And let Andrew know.
So dislikes
and leave a comment.
Because if you hit it once and then you hit it a second time, it goes away. It takes it off. So
why are you sharing our secrets?
I'll cut that part out. So, all right. So I'll tell you what, let's start with holsters. We're going to put the guns off the table for another episode, but let's start with holsters. And Vinny, I know you, myself, Andrew, and producer Jimmy have had this ongoing text thing about a particular holster that you like. And we don't necessarily need to go into put the company out there, but ultimately, in my opinion, and you guys can chime in as you feel fit, but in my opinion, a holster should be simple. It should be comfortable. it should be secure, meaning there should be some sort of degree of retention. So if I shake the gun, if the gun's in the holster and I have it out of my pants and I'm shaking it or holding it upside down, the gun should stay put. It should not fall out.
Yep.
That's important for if I'm running, if I'm fighting, if I fall over, the gun is not going to, it's like not one of those cheap Uncle Mike's pieces of crap that you would buy, one size fits most with the little thumb snap. It should be something that conceals well so that you're in compliance with Maryland law, so that you're not printing. Yeah, I mean,
Wait, is it
me,
a law that you're not allowed to print?
correct.
When did that happen?
Under Senate Bill 1. You didn't know that?
Oh, you can't.
It must be concealed. It can be inadvertently revealed
Okay.
temporarily. But
So
it
are they
must
going to
be
change the
concealed.
title on the actual permit now to concealed carry permit, or is it still going to be called a permit to carry a handgun?
That will be Senate Bill 1 this upcoming year.
Yeah, so the holster has to be such that it conceals the weapon and you're able to wear it in a position where it's both comfortable and concealable. And, you don't have to spend a ton of money on these things.
About $50, $60.
Yeah.
Lies. My $5,000 holster is 10 times better, 100 times
It's got
better.
a cell phone
Yes.
charger
It's
attachment.
It's got leather. It's got Tiffany.
Gemstones with
gemstones.
real diamonds.
It's bedazzled.
sometimes we're going to go with the less is more theory here.
Simple Kydex.
Yeah. Kydex or, I like, we had this discussion on the group text the other day. My favorite beloved holster finally broke after I get about 3 years out of each one of them, but the clip finally came off of the Kydex or whatever.
The plastic clip.
Yeah,
Not
the
clip is in
plastic.
a magazine, right?
Yeah, we don't
Right.
call magazine. And you're
we
not
don't
allowed
call
to
them
call
clips.
it a clip.
You actually were carrying an M1 Garand.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's when you have a clip.
Well,
But,
one thing I want to point out is he keeps moving this microphone closer to his mouth. I keep
I?
moving it down, and there he goes. He keeps jamming it into his mouth.
Oh, well, I'm trying to
Make sure this makes it. Make sure this makes the episode.
This is going in the episode.
I got to get my twist down, the twist.
Look at those traps. You've been working out, Vinny?
Well, just trying to stay young. But
Those stem cells.
yeah, stem cells. Got to get some
like Christopher
fetuses.
Reeves from South Park.
We've been going to Mexico lately, and we've been getting stem cell therapy for those who wonder why
Yeah.
Vinny's aging in reverse.
Is it working?
Look at us. Look how good. You said how good I looked in the shirt. You said how good
I
Vinny's
said
looking.
the shirt looked good. I wasn't talking about the guy wearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a Scarface edition Tommy
I
Bahama.
was thinking Scarface too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking
But no,
It's
Grand
very
Theft
Florida
Auto-
man.
Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
So fortunately, my favorite holster broke, and they used to lifetime warranty, but I later found out that the manufacturer is no longer doing direct sales. The last time one broke, I just shot them an email, and they were like, "All right, we got a new one on the way. When the new one gets there, we have a return packing slip. Put the broken one in, send it back, done." And then they had sent it to me, and these are custom molded for the weapon that you're carrying. So I always say it's important to have being comfortable carrying a gun. It's a two-part thing. You have to have the right holster, and you have to have the right weapon for you.
Especially when you're carrying a 1911 like you do.
In a fanny pack.
Yeah.
Nonetheless.
So actually, I'm in the market for a new holster because he's borrowing
I
mine
commandeered hers.
You commandeered your girlfriend's
temporarily.
holster.
So okay, so here's my thing on that is I'm
borrowed
allowing him
it.
to because he has to carry way more often than I do, and when I'm out in the city, 99% of the time I'm with him. You know what I mean?
She's my backpack.
And
She's
we
my
have,
fanny pack.
We have the same exact weapon as well. Yeah. So
So Vinny and Gevenny, what out of curiosity, what attributes are you looking for in a good holster? Like I like Kydex, but I like the thick Kydex, not the thin stuff that you can bend.
Yeah, so I prefer the ones that's molded for your weapon. But I also like that it has this I want to hear it audibly click in when I put it into the holster. And then I always do the flip test. Flip the holster upside down, give it a little jiggle. I always want to make sure that it stays secured, even if it's flipped upside down. Not that I'm a gymnast or anything or do backflips on the regular, but I have crashed a bicycle before riding with my gun, and that my gun was the only thing that stayed on me. I had fucking sunglasses up the street, a shoe laying back there. The only thing I had left on me was my gun at that point. But
And that was your first warranty return?
no, it survived. But I was just like, man, imagine if like my gun would have just been like skitching across Eastern Avenue, like.
It would have been
I
a
was-
standard day on Eastern Avenue.
Yeah. I always think back. Do you remember the video? It was I believe the guy was a federal agent. He was at a wedding, and he's dancing, and he did a backflip in the middle of the dance floor, and his gun fell out, and he was in such a panic. When he went to pick it up, he actually discharged it.
Oh God, a negligent discharge on
Producer
top of it.
Jimmy can probably actually find that video. It's great.
So, but I mean, the point is that a good holster need not be overly expensive. And I'll say this, back in the day, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, leather was like the main thing. Most people were getting leather holsters. They were getting the Miami Classic shoulder rigs and all these other things. And what you quickly realize is unless you're wearing a suit jacket or a winter coat, it doesn't conceal well, and it's not accessible in a lot of cases unless you're wearing those types of things. So
For those of us in the hyper professional world, it is perfect. As a guy who wears a suit every day, it's a look.
Yeah.
it is a look, but I tell you what, when I wear a suit and things like that, I just wear inside the waistband as I've done in the past.
Yeah.
And the inside the waistband holster that I have is not any type of specific name brand. It was bought from Glock store, which isn't associated with Glock, I don't believe, but they're out of California. And I paid $175, I think, and that was the holster with the Streamlight TLR6 light that came with it. So remember, if you're going to get a light on your weapon, you have to make sure that the holster that you have fits the weapon with the light on it. But at the end of the day, if I would have just bought the holster, I think I would have paid like, I don't know, $50 or something like that for it.
Along the same line, nowadays when optics are all the rage,
Yeah.
make sure your holster, when you order it, you select the one for the type of optic you want to put on your firearm.
Yeah, if you're going to put an optic on it or a flashlight. The other thing it's important to remember with inside, and that's, so we've been talking about holsters, but we really didn't talk about necessarily where the holster is. So most people these days, other than Andrew when he's wearing his Miami Classic, oh, there's the video.
He's got it.
All right, put it on the screen. Oh, that's not good.
Very nice backflip. That is going to be a
Yeah.
lot
That's
of
a terrible
paperwork,
backflip.
though.
Yeah, wow.
Let me just grab that by the trigger.
Yeah. All right, here he goes again. Another view. Boom.
Yep. Clearly a field agent.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
did he forget he had a weapon on him, or
No,
All right,
I
that's
guess
enough of that
he
travesty.
entrusted that holster.
or he really just thought that?
So it looks like on the back, if in the picture that he has up on screen right now, it looks like there's a holster or something there. But I wonder if maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just a glint of light. Maybe he just had the gun shoved in the back of his pants, and when he did that backflip, it fell out because it came out way too easy for there to be any retention.
It was the momentum of him flipping, and he obviously that's a fast motion and momentum, and the gun's a heavy object.
I mean, I have to assume he had it in a holster though, because there was one in the chamber. No one carries one in the chamber and not in a holster.
yes,
I
they
beg
do.
Do
to
they? They
differ.
can go off in your pants. No.
So if you're carrying a gun, there should be a round chamber, but it should also be secure in a holster.
That's what I'm saying. But if you just keep it in your pants, like
I've
there's a risk it'll go off.
that's more of a street style of carrying, but
Plaxico Burris.
Well, I mean, if you're
Yeah,
going to carry it that
Plaxico
way, I wouldn't
Burris.
keep one in the chamber.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
shot himself in the nether regions.
in
Right.
the nightclub.
Yeah.
yep.
So
remember
when
that.
did this happen? Jimmy, is there a date on this?
A couple
Jimmy?
years ago. This is old. This is
Do
very
you
old.
see if you can figure out when this occurred?
Oh, yeah, it's from 2018.
Yeah, the video's from 2018.
The glorious times before COVID. Life was much simpler.
Yes, it was. Different world.
Very much so.
Different world. So, yeah, that video was horrible.
Yeah.
So yes, a holster, as the video shows, needs to be secure. It needs to hold your weapon in place, prevent it from discharging unnecessarily or unwantedly. And we talk about holsters, but let's talk about where would we wear holsters. So just from my perspective, there you go. Andrew needed his lighter. From my perspective, I carry a simple Kydex that I then wear on my strong side. And on my side, a lot of people like appendix carry. I'll put some pictures up showing what I do and then what the appendix carry is. Appendix is fast, and a lot of people like it. I find it to be uncomfortable, which is kind of where the gun is in your dip,
Yep.
for lack of a better term.
So I found that as a woman, the appendix carry is a little more discreet for me because women are wider at the hips. Like if you put it on your hip, like I feel like it's more obvious that way. So the
Right.
appendix carry is easily covered up by a top.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And wherever the gun is, you have to be able to get to it fast, and you need to be able to bring it to bear on the threat with minimal superfluous movements, which is why I don't like small of the back, because you're reaching back and you're swinging it around. It's why I don't like the cross draw. You know, again, you're swinging the gun. I want to be able to get it up and out and oriented towards the threat as quickly as I can. That's the reason I don't like ankle carry, and I've done that, you know. But the problem is you've got to take a knee in most cases to get it, and now you're at a disadvantage. Your movement is limited. So I generally tell people appendix or strong side, and I think that you're not going to go wrong depending on, you know, what you're wearing and how your body makeup is.
I'm gonna agree with Duane because I carry the same way. Like I said, if I'm wearing jeans and my belt, I carry on my strong side hip, just because it's comfortable, but also it has my holster has a nice piece of leather that goes against my skin, so it's not just the bare metal of the gun, pressing into my skin all night. So that's like one of my other favorite things about the holster. But the only time I carry appendix is if I have like gym shorts on or something.
Well, and to your point, when you were talking about people saying, well, it's uncomfortable, how do you carry it when you're in the car, will you sit in the seat? When you have a gun on, unless it's some sort of little tiny Derringer, which you shouldn't be carrying for primary defensive weapon anyway, it's going to not feel like you have a marshmallow in your pants. It's going to feel like you have something there. You will get used to it, but there are options to make it more comfortable.
Yep.
So
even just like sliding it a few millimeters to the back or to the front can make a huge world of difference.
yeah. So thoughts, Andrew?
Not to get all lawyerly too, all of these different ways to carry all have their time and place at the same time. And the key lesson would always be have your firearm with you because you never know when danger will come.
Yep.
So not locked up in your car.
I would advise against that unless you absolutely have to. Because, as an example, today I was in a secure facility, also known as a jail, and they frown upon you carrying firearms in there. So I had to lock it in my vehicle while I was going in and out. But as soon as I could rearm myself, I did so. But we're not trying to say, oh my God, all the people who carry on their ankles are losers. See us in the comments.
They're probably going to be dead first.
Yes. But it's better to have an ankle carry than no carry. But at the same time, there are going to be things in the vast majority of outcomes, your strong side carry is probably going to be the optimum result.
Yes.
But at the same time, are there going to be situations? I'm sure someone in the comments is going to say, well, whenever I go out on my, jet ski, the only way I can carry it is on my ankle.
And a plastic bag.
Yeah. So there's going to be some situation that will certainly arise that it's better to have it in one of these situations. If you are a gentleman who is in a professional environment all day and wants to wear a shoulder rig, if that works for you and you are competent with it and well-trained with it, if you have your urban defense dummy rounds and you've practiced drawing and you are comfortable and you are proficient, I support you.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody is different, and it's important that you carry the gun more than, the gun that you carry is worth more to you than the gun that you left at home. But in a critical incident, milliseconds are going to matter,
Absolutely.
and so you're going to have to consider the options.
Carry and practice.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and then for women especially, like sometimes the around the waist carry is not an option. Like most women's clothing aren't designed for that. Like men, for the most part, they're wearing jeans and a belt. So that's the most practical option. But for women, like we're not wearing jeans and a belt most of the time. Like how would I carry it in this outfit, for example?
Lara
like a romper.
Croft, Tomb Raider style.
That's what I was thinking.
Right on the leg.
So, no.
Is
so
that a
I've
romper
thought
you're
about
wearing,
it. So
or what would you call this
This is a
outfit?
pantsuit. It's a romper.
Okay.
Jumpsuit. It's a jumpsuit. So I guess if I was carrying today, which I'm not,
Why not?
because I only have the one holster that
Loser.
he's borrowing currently.
Yeah, blame it on me.
I don't have a sign
Blame
on
it
the
on
front of
me.
my house, so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess my only option here would be an ankle carry, right?
This is my point exactly.
But it's better than no gun. If I were out by myself in this outfit, I would probably do that.
Now, let me add this one thing in for the ladies. I do not support putting firearms in purses, and they sell lots
Absolutely
of
not.
those
I'd rather have it on my ankle.
And why? Why do you
Because
want?
then it's still on me, and someone's not going to take it when they take my purse.
Exactly right.
So what's
okay.
the first thing a purse snatcher is going to do?
Your purse.
Exactly.
Hence the name. So we went over the holsters, and there is a ton of different. And Jimmy's producer Jimmy has them up on the screen. I mean, there's tons of different options out there. It's what's comfortable for you. It's what you're going to carry, and so you need to weigh the options of concealment and comfortability versus actual utility of being able to get to it. So now let's talk about some other things.
I'm loving this BBL. No, the
Waist
girl,
belt
the girl
things
with the
for
BBL,
women.
the BBL butt.
Yeah, let's see. What is that? Bring it up. No,
This is not the BBL
No,
butt.
hit the
No,
back.
that's
Hit the
the
back
belt
button.
Yeah, that's what we want to see, producer Jimmy.
Hit the
Short.
back
There,
button.
it was on
What
one.
have you
Where's
done?
it? No, hit
He
the back
lost
button
it.
again. You lost it.
Previous.
Oh,
there
there.
you go.
it is.
What in the
What's
heck is
going
that,
on
dude?
there?
It serves two
Hit
functions.
it. Hit the button.
a
Bring
butt-
it up. I want to see
Butt
what this is.
lifter. Butt lifter, high waist shorts.
Oh,
I
these
think
are.
that's just
You could
shapewear.
tuck. Damn, you could tuck a 9mm right there at the bra line. Those
What-
things go up high.
What in the
You
heck?
know what? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I did see some holsters for women that are like in the bra, like it's like bra holster,
Yeah.
but you would need a very small weapon for that.
I'm curious on whether what we're looking at here, obviously a Lane Bryant ad, but I'm curious as to what we're looking at here. If that is a rear end enhancer,
It
or
is.
if that is taking her actual stuff and molding it. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Is it
Well,
padded?
either way, she's got plenty of time to draw because you can't stop looking at that whatever's going
Whatever
on
that
there.
Holy
is.
cow, the rappers would love her.
What's going on back there?
Okay. Anyway, this computer screen might not have been a good idea. I don't know, or the TV screen. So all right. So what
We're
are some
giving
other
the people what they want.
Apparently, I don't even know if we can put that on there. So I'm sure we can.
Children can't watch this episode.
Well, we market that it's not for
She's
children.
fully clothed.
Yeah. So.
So
All right.
the point being, just to go full circle here, that there are going to be occasions where an ankle carry is appropriate. There are going to be occasions where you're going to have to consider an appendix carry. There are going to have to be occasions where you're going to consider a shoulder carry. Be smart, train appropriately, and know what you're doing. Avoid the negligent discharge, and at the same time, be prepared to protect yourself, your family, your loved ones, etc.
Well, absolutely. And you hit it on the head. Train appropriately. People go to the range and they'll shoot 200, 300 rounds, rapid succession, and they'll say, okay, I've done what I need to do for the month or whatever. And they don't realize that more than 50% of firearms training is done not live fire. And it starts with getting the gun out of the holster. And part of that is clearing your clothing out of the way. And producer Jimmy can certainly attest to this, that we've run in our force on force classes where we make them cover their weapons up as they would be carrying them. And what happens is that when we produce a situation to where they are under stress, they grab the gun through the shirt and pull the gun and the shirt up. And now they're shooting the gun through the shirt if they're able to even get.
Can't get your finger through the trigger.
I saw one guy do it. I was amazed, but it was not right.
Disaster.
It was not correct. But so holster stuff, lots of stuff out there. Find what works for you. Just make sure it's good quality and that it's something that's going to be secure and work for you. So other things that you should carry, and I'm going to fire this right on off. I don't know that it needs a ton of discussion. Spare magazine. If you're carrying a gun, you need to have a spare magazine for the gun. And that spare magazine should be on your support side in most cases. I'm not saying every single case, but in most cases, it should be on your support side. And why? Because if the gun is in my primary hand, I'm right-handed and the gun's in my primary hand, I'm not going to then be switching the gun to the other hand to grab out of this pocket. I need to be able to get that magazine out and feed the gun while the gun is still in my hand. So at least one spare magazine.
But to add to that, you also need to take into account that when you have the spare magazine in its carrier on your support side, that it is facing the proper direction for when you grab it like this and rotate, it is facing the right way to go into the mag well. So you're not trying to stuff a magazine in backwards, which we've seen people do in videos before.
The term for that is bullets to belt buckle. So if you're wearing something that secures your magazine in a set position, the bullet end, the projectile end should be facing your belt buckle so that when you withdraw the magazine, it's facing the right direction. Now, you should be in your workspace when you're loading the gun, so you shouldn't be doing stuff down here. You should have the gun up in your face in your workspace, okay? And then you can see. Most people carry that spare magazine in a pocket, so you have to get very familiar with what it feels like so that when you pull that magazine out, you're reasonably certain which way it's facing, and then as you're bringing it up, you're double-checking in your workspace as you insert the magazine. If it doesn't want to go in, then you need to fix it.
Yeah, I'm going to raise my hand and say I'm guilty. I do not carry a spare magazine. I always had a saying, if I can't get it done in 11 rounds, it wasn't meant to be.
How does your 1911 hold 11 rounds?
Yes. Yes.
But I do not carry one of those.
Well,
But,
it is highly advisable. And it's not, and here's the thing, it's not just because you think you're going to need 11 or 15 or 20 rounds in a critical incident. You may, but it's because of malfunctions.
Yeah.
The most common thing that creates problems in a firearm is going to be the source of feed. And whether that be a damaged magazine, a magazine that is, has been dropped, or something's wrong with it, or it got dirty, who knows? And it's not feeding correctly, you're out of action. So having that spare magazine allows you the option to fix the most common problem that you're going to experience. And so, again, do you need 5 of them? No, you don't need to come out like a pirate ship with smoke puffs coming out everywhere, but certainly have one spare magazine at least that's your go-to, just in case you need the extra rounds or in case you have a mechanical issue that would require you.
When I'm actually working on duty, I carry 2 spare mags, so I have 45 rounds total on me, or actually 46. Yeah, 46. But and I keep them. I hate carrying all this stuff on my waist. So I have a
Fanny pack?
Yeah, no. I have a Molly carrier vest, so I clip everything to the front. I have my spare mags on the front of me, and everything else, OC spray, flashlight, stuff like that.
So that's a great point. Flashlight, right? So I've always recommended having a weapon-mounted light, because that gives you the advantage to be able to see at night, see your target quite clearly, and also acts to disorient and distract them potentially.
You can blind somebody with it.
But in addition to that, having that flashlight that you could use for any other reason, a handheld flashlight. You're not going to pull your gun out to look for your keys and use the weapon-mounted light for that. Although I'm sure there's somebody there's probably a video of somebody doing that.
Hang on, let me speak on that real quick. Got in big trouble for that. They used to direct traffic with the.
Oh
dear
my God! Come on, that's got to be
swear
a
to
lot.
God.
Come on,
Look
man.
it up.
All
I
right.
swear to God, they were not allowed to carry flashlights on their guns anymore because of that.
So
Waving their guns.
Come
So-
on, man.
So I heard that he's going to look it up, I'm sure. I've heard that misconception too. There's many departments before they went to weapon mounted lights, and I can speak from personal experience, had similar concerns. At least most of them were unfounded. I've not heard of what you're referring to. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm sure producer Jimmy's looking it up right now. We're going to find out in a minute. But yeah, if they were doing that, that's definitely not something that you would want to do. But having a spare flashlight, a handheld flashlight, and look, it does not need to be the flashlights that you can get today, right? Take 1 or 2, double A's or triple A's. They're LED. They're so bright. But spend the money. Don't go to Harbor Freight or whatever. Spend $100 or whatever and get a good. That's not to say that there aren't inexpensive flashlights out there that are of good quality, but do your own research. Buy a good quality flashlight.
I have a small one. Mine's fairly small. It's about the size of a roll of quarters. It's very bright, but it has a rechargeable lithium-ion battery, so you don't have to keep putting double A's or triple A's in it. And it has 3 different brightnesses, and it also has a strobe. So
Yeah.
and you can also it's heavy duty light. It's solid. It's metal, and but you can actually hold it like a roller quarters if you needed to. And
Yeah. Use it as an impact device if you had to. So holsters, spare magazines and wear, holsters and wear, flashlights and why. What are some other things that you think?
Let's go back real quick to the magazines as well, just as a practical pointer. A lot of people do not rotate their carry magazine, do not clean their carry magazine regularly. That is another reason why you want to make sure you have an extra magazine, and also you want to be rotating that.
And another thing, Andrew, is there's a lot of folks out there now that are buying aftermarket mags. And that's not to say that some aftermarket companies don't make a good product. They very well may. But perfect example, people will buy, a Glock, and then they will buy, and I don't know the name of the company, and even if I did, I wouldn't mention it right now, but that it's basically a double stack for that particular Glock, and it gives you much more capacity by maybe a couple of rounds. And it's metal. It's not polymer. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, if you're a Glock armorer, you know that the button that you press that holds the magazine in place is polymer. If we have a metal magazine with sharp edges on a polymer button, eventually that will start to wear out and cause problems. Conversely, if you then put the metal magazine release button in the Glock, as they recommend for that metal magazine, and you start using the polymer magazines, that metal will eventually start to, in theory, wear out the ramp on the magazine where the magazine seats. This is what was discussed in Glock Armor School. And so, to me, if Mr. Glock thought that he needed his magazines to be made of metal, he would have done it that way. I'm a big fan of keep it OEM, especially for your carry weapon. I'm not a fan of adding lots of gadgets and gizmos. What I tell people is things you're going to put on your carry gun: night sights, flashlights. That's pretty much it.
Duane, you don't recommend a 3-pound trigger or a hair trigger or?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No.
And for all the people who want metal magazines, come to Walther. All the Glock people, come at us in the comments.
Well, again, making sure that whatever it is that you're putting on your gun is well vetted, especially those magazines, and don't go and buy the cheap. And there was a lot of Glock magazines you'd see at the gun shows of late coming out of Korea. Their quality is suspect. I have seen some of them that run pretty well. I've also seen some of them that don't run well at all. So again, spend the extra money, get the good quality, guaranteed product, and sleep well at night.
See, I mean, I can't get one of the Chinese-made Extendo 30-rounder to hang out at the bottom of my carry gun.
Glock makes them. Glock makes that. In fact, so there was a 50-round drum that was made. It was a Korean-made 50-round drum, and most of those worked very well. But you're not likely to be carrying that in a
What
concealed
about the
handgun
clear
capacity.
one? I've seen the clear magazine.
Well,
too.
remember the gentleman in the bus shooting in Baltimore County prior to COVID?
I remember that.
And his Extendo mag jammed, and that was his final undoing.
Yeah, and that's the source of feed of the weapon. So if you're going to carry a spare magazine, and you should, Vinny,
I'm going to start tomorrow, Dad.
please do. And I don't ever want to hear that you got shot for lack of shooting back. Did we find anything on the DC stuff?
I think it was a very internal thing that they kind of swept under the rug.
Let's go back. I think Jimmy's search terms were fucking horrible too. Go back to the search. Look at what you searched. Why would you pick those?
Okay, all right. So Jimmy. Okay, all right. So producer Jimmy was not able to locate the information on the people directing traffic with weapon-mounted lights. So okay,
We know if it wasn't on the internet, it's not true.
exactly. So all right, what else?
I'd also caution people when you're selecting a holster, make sure, I know this is common sense, but often that escapes people. If you're going to carry inside the waistband, which is highly recommended in Maryland, get a holster designed for inside the waistband carrying. Nothing is more uncomfortable, impractical, and difficult to use than an outside the waistband holster configured in that fashion inside the waistband.
I don't even know how you would do that. You would just
Can't.
turn it around?
That'd be very
Can't.
uncomfortable.
I mean, my outside the waistband holster for when I'm working is like I said, I carry everything on the front of my vest, but so I have a paddle style. So I just, and it grabs onto your belt and you shove it down in between your pants and it grips tight. I mean, but that's a very comfortable way to carry. But obviously, when you're working on duty, you're open carrying anyway. So
I am sure that we could find on the internet examples of people with outside the waistband holsters inside the waistband carrying.
I don't know how that
Can we
works.
pull up a picture, producer Jimmy?
Producer Jimmy, can you search up holster carry? No.
No.
Maybe see if you can find us some examples of
How
Just
not
just
scary.
type just type in
Holster carrying inside.
wrong holster carry. Yeah, outside
Incorrect.
waistband holster inside. Yeah, that's good. Let's see if just pull up images. Just no, go to images where it says all. There you go. pull that up? Okay. Well, I'm sure somewhere there's something, but at the end of the day, if you took an outside the waistband holster, yes, and tried to convert it to an inside the waistband because you're just that cheap, it's going to be uncomfortable, as Andrew said. It's going to stick out.
That one right there.
Which one?
Go up.
Oh, the
go,
leg holsters.
Go
They
up
kill
like
me.
that. Well, they do too. Go down. That one there. That one. It's one of the ones to the right.
Yeah.
No, you went too far to the right.
Which one? Count from
Count
this side.
squares.
Go 3 or 4, sir. 3 or 4. Either one of
two.
those.
Yeah.
That's crap. You have to loop your belt through it.
And I guarantee you, someone would try that.
Somebody has a belt on inside of their pants and another belt on. I guarantee. No. I agree with you, Andrew. Somebody is wearing that inside.
What is happening right now? Like, what are we...
It's we live in the Twilight Zone, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for those people that don't understand that reference.
That is the most obnoxious holster I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
It literally makes me angry.
do a Google search of modern holster or you're going to find all weird types of different things. Okay, so let's talk about maybe some other things that you may also carry as well, and some things that were posed to me prior to filming were about these composite knives that you find out there, often sold as letter openers. Things like the pepperball guns, or I believe it's called Berna or something. We'll see what we can get on that. And then tasers and stun guns. So from a legality standpoint, let's start with these composite knives. Producer Jimmy, are you able to bring something up on the screen with the composite knives? Okay, there it is right there. Andrew, the legality on these things, thoughts?
I assure you that if you are carrying one of these in a situation where you should not be, a prosecutor and the local constabulary are almost certainly going to treat it like a regular knife. We'll sort it all out in court, but you may be in a situation you do not enjoy for 6 to 9 months while it takes me to sort this out. I think they certainly can have a place in a self-defense setting, but at the same time, they're marketed as undetectable knives. Mm-hmm. It's almost certainly going to be considered a knife, and you do not want to be going through security at the North Avenue courthouse and be caught with one of these.
They're going to treat it as a knife, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
And so just to be clear, and you'll see it on the screen, we'll put a picture-in-picture or we'll add some photos in. But these are composite items. They're not metal from what I see here.
Correct.
Actually, I have a funny story. Scroll back down, Jimmy. Keep going. Keep going. The credit card knife. Keep going. Right there. Stop. So I was actually gifted one of those many years ago, and this is back when I still carried like the George Costanza style wallet. So whatever, it was a cool gift. I put it in my wallet as a credit card, and I forgot about it. So I was going to Cancun for my buddy's bachelor party, and I'm going through airport security. I put my stuff in the bin, and they run it through, and they're like, "Can you come over here for a second?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I walk around, and he points to the X-ray screen. He goes, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, dude." I was like,
So it was detected.
yeah. Well,
Wait,
you
so
could
you can see the
see
screen?
the blade because the blade was metal.
You can see it on an X-ray.
Yes.
It theoretically will defeat a metal detector.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
So
All right.
I was like, man, I was like,
Well, I figured since it was in that card configuration that the card maybe would have masked what
it's very
was.
interesting how they work. Like it folds and snaps together, but it ultimately looks like that. It looks like a knife when you assemble it. But I was just like, man, I hope they don't like lock me up for this. But I was like, listen, I looked at the guy. I said, you can keep it. Not gonna fight you.
All right. So with these types of things, probably not as safe and legally sound as one person might think.
If you are looking to skirt Maryland law by carrying one of these, I think you're cruising for a bruising.
All right. So how about the let's go to those burner and pepperball type guns. So how much is one of these
What
things?
a waste.
Yeah, so it looks like a handgun, so that's going to get you shot. $379.99, and it uses CO2.
Does that include shipping?
Probably not.
No.
And it fires. What does it? Is it a 68 caliber ball?
Yeah, that's what it looks
Producer
like.
Jimmy, is it say
That's a
in there?
standard paintball round. Yeah.
It's
That's
It comes in black. It comes in safety orange and tan.
Not flat, dark Earth, though.
They can't call it that. It's probably
Honeycomb
They
grip.
call them max projectiles, 5 count. How much is it? $25 for 5 pepper balls.
Wow. So you can get bulk. Okay. So here's my thing. Before you
If
use
you're into
this,
reloading your own rounds.
well, if you could. So in this situation, you're pulling this device out. You're firing a projectile at another person. I'm almost of the opinion that you're going to wind up being almost at that level, if not at that level of deadly force where you'd be using a handgun anyway if you feel the need to pull this. Am I disagreement?
I think that this is marketed towards people that are uncomfortable carrying handguns,
100%.
but think this will provide the same safety and security and defensibility of a handgun. And I think this is a very risky play. And legally, how would you explain yourself unless you were in a deadly force situation? And I suppose certainly I would rather have that than nothing. But I think, again, if you are, for example, a felon and cannot legally possess a firearm and you're rocking and rolling with one of these, you may be looking for trouble.
Yeah. And the thing is that if given the choice between that and a gun, I'd rather have the gun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you got the same money tied up in that hunk. I mean, it's by the time you buy the gun for $380 and you buy, call it 25 rounds because you're probably going to shoot 10 of them just to see if it works. Then you have to buy CO2 cartridges. And then obviously the gun has seals and stuff in it because it's air powered. So eventually those seals blow out, the CO2 leaks out, and who knows, like the day comes that you actually have to use this thing, and it's like having an empty fire extinguisher. It's just kind of nothing happens.
I hope you're correct that even if they have it, they're going to take it and try and use it at least 10 times as opposed to put it on the shelf somewhere, think they're safe with a false sense of security, and then when it comes time to use it, surprise.
Yeah. Well, look, I look at these things as gimmicks, and for the average person, whether it be those pepper ball type of firearms or they're not firearms, but those pepper ball type of devices for tasers and stun guns and mace and things like that. Again, I think for the average person, if you're capable of getting a handgun permit, I think you're better served to do that. There's all kinds. Jimmy, I think we saw you had on the screen, you had the Bolo wrap somewhere, if I remember correctly. I thought it was one of the searches that I saw come up on the screen.
But
yeah, Bolo, Bolo.
But Duane, I've seen videos of police departments using these for crowd control.
Hold on.
Yeah, and they
All
use
right, there it is, right there.
gun.
Hit that button there. So I'm not going to trash these guys too much. I actually participated in a demo for this, and got to use it and got to see it done in full in live action. And it works really well when it's when the person is standing with their hands and their arms and their legs together. But if their arms and legs are spread out, and it basically fires out a Kevlar reinforced or a Kevlar type of line and 2 treble fish hooks that are weighted, and it spins around you like a lasso, essentially. And the idea is the fish hooks will hook into you, and then you can't easily move your arms and legs. But if your arms and legs are already spread out and this thing goes around, all you do is close them up and it falls to the floor. So again, an interesting idea, but maybe when applied practically, not quite as good.
It's kind of not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm watching all of these videos, and I don't see anyone that is actually aggressively approaching you with ill intent.
Okay, stop running.
So the purpose was that this could be used. So like many departments, as far as tasers are concerned and things like that, many departments will only allow you to use it for active aggression, whereas this didn't meet the criteria for that, at least at the time. So the idea was if somebody was trying to escape or flee or something, you could use this on them to hold them or take them into custody in some way without having to use a taser.
Not to be anti-police, but I am sure some officer is going to misuse this in a compliance situation, and I'm going to buy a new car afterwards.
I mean, potentially. I mean, look, the other thing is it has, at least the one that I saw, has 2 fish hooks on it. So imagine you aim a little too
aggressive.
high and it hits you in the eye or something like that. Same thing with this bolo. So I'm of the opinion you're shooting somebody with these pepper ball guns that could be equated to deadly force. You hit somebody in the eye, you could kill them. I would think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's about 300 feet per second. Those projectiles travel out of there. So
If you hit somebody that happens to be hyper allergenic to whatever is in those and they die from its use, I hope to God you were justified.
Yeah. So that's the reason I say that in those instances, you're going to be using this in situations where deadly force is already warranted, I would think. That's where you're going to be most safe. The problem is when you use these things, as we know, even with bullets, there's a delay. There's a delay in people's response to even being shot by rounds that are going into your body. So if this is not immediately effective, we see a situation where the person has time to rush you and disarm you.
right.
Absolutely. Or you're going to see someone under the mistaken impression that it is less than lethal. So they are going to be utilizing it in situations where deadly force is not warranted. Some kids leaning on your car and some cranky old man is going to come out and shoot him with one of these things and
cause permanent injury or some sort of other
Well, I mean,
worse.
at the end of the day, realistically, you're engaging me and you're advancing towards me. I have to pull this thing out. I shoot my 5 pepper balls and 4 of them hit you in the chest. I have to sit there and wait for it to like ferment and like travel up to your nose and your eyes.
And that's a two-way street, by the way, because when you use powdered CS or OC, everyone in the area is going to get a bit of it too. And if the wind is going the wrong direction, I can assure you it will be uncomfortable for you as well.
I hate OC spray, everything about it. Like it's just...
and the false sense of security for individuals who have never actually trained with it. I hate it.
I've been OC sprayed for training, and I can assure you,
Gevenny, why did you spray him?
No means no.
You know what's so funny? My mom gifts me like pepper spray every Christmas.
This is what I'm
$10
This is what I'm
talking about. That
I've never ever tried to use that thing.
As someone who has used pepper spray, you're going to get a taste of it for certain. And I'm not saying that you should never carry it, but as Andrew said, don't have the false sense of security that it's going to be some sort of panacea that's going to solve every possible encounter that you're going to have.
Some people out there that can eat that stuff. They're like, oh, okay, this is good.
yeah.
They are out there. I mean, they're few and far between, but there are people just like with tasers. And so differentiation between taser and stun gun. Taser fires the wired projectiles out. Stun gun is a contact type of electrical device designed to cause NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. Doesn't always work that way. I've seen them where they've been used. I've been there when they've been used and they have been ineffective. And, you got to come up with plan B. So in my mind, the best course of action that you have is to have a handgun permit, be well trained on it, be prepared. And when it's time to use that deadly force, you're going to go ahead and use that deadly force as opposed to something else that may or may not work, or there may be a delay. And by the way, there will likely be a delay when you shoot someone too. These things happen in milliseconds, and it's going to take time for all of those things to register. Unless you get some sort of instantly incapacitating shot to the level of the cervical spine, it's going to take a couple milliseconds to a couple of seconds for things to work out the way you want them to in most cases.
Yeah. So I think what a quick take that we can take away from all this is the bolo wrap, as you stated. They basically have to be standing like perfectly straight up like a statue for it to be somewhat effective. A taser that launches projectiles, they don't always penetrate a heavy jacket, winter clothing, thicker clothing, hoodies, whatever the case may be. And the pepper ball gun, that thing is just a complete joke. Like I said, you have to shoot someone with it, wait for the chemical to get into their eyes or their nose. They ingest it. So I think what we can, obviously state here is there's no substitution for actual penetration.
Yeah.
So
That's what she said.
there's no, I mean,
And don't have a false sense of security that you have 5 rounds now.
yeah.
I hope to God that it's only one assailant, because if it's multiple assailants and you've got 5 rounds,
You're better off beating them with the gun.
Well, look, and again, at the end of the day, all of these items may work some of the time as advertised. Nothing works 100% of the time, not even bullets. So if you're going to avail yourself to one of these, which I personally don't. Now, that's not to say that in a use of force continuum in a security company where you have things like pepper spray, taser, you have batons, and maybe some other type of device that you use as a way of working your way up a use of force continuum. That's one thing. But for the average person that's not walking around with a fully loaded duty belt under their shirt, which is most of our audience,
we hope.
yeah, I mean, you're kind of limited to what you have, and that's going to be the gun, like we talked about, the spare magazine, proper holster, flashlight in the pocket, and a weapon-mounted light, some night sights on that gun. And I mean, and maybe some people talked about, emergency trauma care items such as tourniquets and stuff. There are certainly people I know that carry that sort of stuff, but again, you got to have somewhere to put it, right?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, if you're going out for, dinner with the wife, you already have your carry gun on, you already have your spare magazine. I mean, where you going to put a tourniquet down your back too? Like that's a whole, you're basically, you might as well be working at that point. And obviously we all seek comfort in our everyday carry. And, so I think it's important, but I necessarily, like I said, I don't carry a spare magazine. I know, don't scold me. I'm going to work on that. But, I wouldn't carry a tourniquet. It's just one more thing.
Honestly, I wouldn't carry any of that because there's not much room in females' pants pockets.
That is the thing you can carry in the purse.
Yeah.
Will be the tourniquet.
Carry the tourniquet in the purse. Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's like a secondary thing.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you shouldn't carry a tourniquet or some sort of wound dressing or something if you think that's important. Certainly, in a critical incident where you or someone else is injured, that's going to be helpful. But again, you have to understand that that's all stuff you're going to have to carry with you, either on your person, or if you're a female, then that's the one thing that you can put in your purse or your fanny pack, perhaps, with your 1911.
It's a big fanny pack. Room for plenty.
They make them in large sizes.
Yeah. And as when we had Jerry on the podcast, he would agree this is something that if you're going to leave anything in your car, this is something to have several of these, put them in your car, put them in your office, put them in your home.
Right.
You can't go wrong with that. We're not saying don't do that, but
yeah, Jerry's very pro emergency trauma care equipment, and I agree with him. But again, this is stuff either you're going to carry it on your person or you're going to keep it in your vehicle somewhere nearby. Most people probably aren't going to carry that. I mean, we can't even get Vinny to carry a spare magazine. So I mean, I don't know. I'm just
a really good shot, Duane.
I don't even know how you're on this podcast.
I always qualify at least a 95, if not 100.
All right. Well, so all good discussion. For the wrap up, Andrew.
Pick a good holster. Practice with the holster. Practice drawing your firearm. Practice reholstering your firearm. We all saw an unfortunate incident when they attempted to assassinate former President Trump, and that Secret Service agent will never live that down. If she can't do it, make sure you can. And seasonally, situationally appropriate, pick a holster that's going to work for what you're doing, your outfit, your lifestyle, etc. And train, fight, win.
Absolutely. So for the Urban Defense Podcast, you just stole my thunder, by the way.
I know I did.
So for the Urban Defense Podcast, I'm Duane Urban, along with Andrew Saller, Vinny Noto, and Gevenny Gamboa. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We only want those positive comments now. And remember to hit the notification bell to be notified of all new content that we put out. If you have ideas of things you'd like us to talk about, drop them in the comment box. So for the Urban Defense Podcast, stay safe out there. Remember, knowledge is mental ammunition, and train, fight, and win.